You're listening to Fanboy Versus with your hosts, J.D. Church, Chris McFeely, Chris Triplett, and Brian Kilby.
And you are listening to Fanboy Versus. I am your host, JD, joined by the dynamic duo of Chris Triplett and Chris McFeely. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
I'm not Robin.
No. I'm going to let y'all fight that out, though. I'm going to let you two figure that out. I'm just going to throw it out there and see what happens. So, today...
Batman.
Yes, you're calling Batman? No? Okay.
I'm Batman.
Well, apparently you can both be Batman in the world of Batman Inc. So, there you go.
The Irish Batman.
Ah, yes, you're the Irish Batman.
That works for me.
Oh, I was going to make a nationalist remark. I'm sorry. Anyway. Sorry. My family's from Ireland. Anyway. So, today it is Fanboy Versus Big Time, as we're going to talk about some of the big things going on over in Spider-Man. I'll just say that I'm already hooked. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. So, not really
it's about time.
I know. Well, it's the second issue. And the first one I was kind of like, meh. And then I read this, and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. Dan Slott is a genius.
Or completely insane.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I tweeted.
Or both. Or both. So, yes. But we're going to talk about other comic books as well. And at the very, very end, we'll talk about Young Justice. I was so hoping we were going to get XV trapped here for a huge long show and then talk about that. But no. So, anyway. So, no real news to talk about other than... a lot of the shows that premiered this week, there was a lot of stuff that premiered. We had Transformers Prime did like a pre-premiere, which was really funny because at the bottom it said premiering in 3 days, and you're watching it. So
yeah,
I was like, really? Okay. G.I. Joe Renegades and Young Justice, and then a 2-part
Avengers.
Yeah. Which was all pretty good. So we may chat about that for just a second. But anyway, comic books, that's what we do. That's what we talk about. Did I miss anything? Anything else we wanted to talk about before we do reviews?
There's really nothing going on this week.
No,
Black Friday week.
Yeah.
News.
Yeah. Yay, Black Friday.
Not that means anything to me.
Lots of good deals if you're wanting to buy things, but yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, no. And yeah, I was very happy that I didn't go out at all. I didn't even have to work that day. I was very excited. It's the first time I didn't have to work on Black Friday in like a long time. So anyway,
I made the mistake of going out and witnessing people going like piranhas over those paper jam toys. Why do people want those?
What the hell is that?
You know, those fake guitar things, you know, they're not guitars, but paper. Yeah, people went crazy for those things. They must have been, like, free or something.
I don't know. I've never heard of them.
Why? No.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Never mind.
Anyway, on that note, Triplet, you get to go first, sir. What did you read this week?
Oh, boy. I didn't read a whole lot. I read the new issue of Action... Batman and Robin, Amazing Spider-Man, and Fantastic Four, which I'll save Amazing Spider-Man for the end, and I'll save Fantastic Four for McFeely, because I know he loves that comic.
Yes, he does.
So I'll talk about Action, and then I know you read Batman and Robin, so if you want to, we can kind of dual talk about Batman and Robin.
Oh, yeah.
But did anybody get a chance to read Action this week?
Actively avoiding it, as always.
Yeah.
Oh, because you're going to get the trade, aren't you?
I think I'll do that too.
Though, mind you, I'm kind of labored with getting the next issue because of this upcoming Secret Six crossover.
Yeah. Oh, you spoiled it. I was going to get to that.
Oh, sorry.
Damn.
Yeah, well, we'll all be talking about that next month.
Yeah. But still, basically, the same story. It's Lex Luthor. I think. And I don't know if this is the first issue they've done this, but I noticed at the top of this one it says Lex Luthor's Action Comics. I don't know if that's the first time that they've done it. I don't know if maybe like the previous issues put his name over the title and it said Lex Luthor's or what, but I thought that was kind of cool because I noticed it in this one. But this issue is basically about Vandal Savage, and there's like a little situation that they sort of teased at the end of the last issue, like he was going to have some sort of a dealing with Lex Luthor or something. And in this issue, it's pretty much it shows Vandal Savage. It starts off. It looks like it's in 1358, and apparently there's like some sort of a prophecy or something that involves somebody that he's going to run into, and they have like a drawing of the man he's going to run into, and it actually is Lex Luthor, and it basically just for a lot of the beginning of the book, it just kind of shows Vandal Savage going down through the centuries, waiting for the prophecy to unfold, and he's never met Lex Luthor because he hasn't been born yet. All up until the point where it gets into the 20th century, and he sees a newspaper that has Lex Luthor on the cover, and he says, "Wait, that's him." He says, "This is the guy I was telling you about," and it actually has his daughter in it from Secret, except for she's a little girl in it, and he's like showing her the newspaper. But it's kind of cool because what happens is as he's waiting for this supposed prophecy to be fulfilled, it's showing like events like where they've met before, and he's like, and it'll even show you like where they take place in. There'll be these events where he's trying to convince Luthor to come to this town in Czechoslovakia that he was like lording over back in the 1300s and stuff, where the prophecy is going to take place. And in every situation, he's like, he's basically like, "Come on down, I'll show you a feast and all this stuff." And like Luthor's basically saying stuff like, "Savage, we're not friends. I don't associate with supervillains unless it's to lead them." And he's just kind of like talking down to him and stuff. And what's cool is because it tells you where these events take place. Because like the first time he tries to get him to go to the town, it says this happened between the panels in Flash number 124, and it shows the Flash like passed out on the floor. And then there's like another one where he tries to do it again, and again, Lex Luthor's just kind of snubbing him. And it says, "And this during the climax of Salvation Run." And it's just kind of neat, just seeing where he keeps trying to talk Lex into coming to the town so he can fulfill this prophecy that he's trying to get done. Which basically, it doesn't go into too much details as to what's going to happen when it's fulfilled, but it seems like Savage is going to get something. Like he's going to be happy about it, whatever it is. But as the issue continues, Lex has a dream, and he thinks he's figured out the Black Lantern power and how to use it, and he's getting more pieces to the puzzle. And one little thing that was kind of cool is he's actually it seems like he's sleeping Lois Robot now, which is really weird.
I'm sorry, say that again?
He's sleeping with the Lois Robot, as in like laying in the same bed with her.
So now it's become a Lois real doll.
I don't know. They don't really get into that, but he like wakes up in the bed with her, so she's kind of laying with him. But in the issue, he goes into details about his dream. And Lois is, always, kind of, talking back to him and, challenging him throughout the story. But in the issue, one little thing I wanted to note is he's told her about his, conversation with Death in the last issue, the teenage Death from Sandman. And she makes a little comment thinking that he must have been hallucinating. And it's kind of funny because she says, "What you experienced, that's got to be a hallucination. Your Death didn't even have skis." And that kind of got a chuckle out of me. Yeah. But as the issue goes on, it's pretty much Lex has got an idea to kind of help him find more of the Black Lantern pieces or the energy or whatever it is. And what he does, it somehow affects the town. I don't really get this part where it somehow affects the town where Vandal Savage is at, where he's trying to get Lex to come to. And Vandal basically decides that he's going to kick this prophecy in high gear instead of waiting for it to come to pass. And he goes to Lex, and he pretty much takes over his whole his business. I guess it might be Lex Core Towers or something. I'm not sure exactly where it's at. And he's threatening to basically destroy everything that Lex Luthor's built unless Lex Luthor gives him what he wants. And it turns out what he wants is what Lex has been seeking. The Black Lantern power. So it kind of looks like the prophecy has something to do with all that Black Lantern stuff that he's been finding, the black orbs and stuff that are pieces left over. And what leads into like what we were talking about before with Secret Six is going to be crossing over. Vandal basically tells him, you either do what I say or I'm going to destroy everything that you've built. And as Lex is talking to Vandal, he actually moves a picture that he's got of himself, like a portrait, and presses a button. And then it shows at the where the Secret Six's base, and a red light blinks on, and basically you've got Deadshot saying, "Hey, Scandal, any idea what that means?" And then the issue ends. So apparently he's got like a secret call button for the Secret Six to come and rescue his butt, if he ever needs them. And it builds it up that basically that it looks like Secret Six is going to have to take down Vandal Savage for him and rescue Lex Luthor. So it was a good issue. I really enjoyed it, and before we spoiled it, that was a cool ending.
Sorry about that.
I don't. Well, that's not. I mean, that was kind of known that was coming, though, right?
Yeah, well, I'd heard about it, but it's still kind of cool when it happens. He presses the button. He's basically looking at his portrait, and Lex says, "I can see that I'm at a disadvantage. You've shut down my security, besieged my building, and prevented me from summoning any kind of help." And he presses the button, and then it shows a red light showing up on one of their, little it's a lamp, is what it is actually. It's blinking red, and Deadshot's like, "Hey, Scandal, any idea what that means?" And it's just kind of funny. But yeah, it was a good issue. I really enjoyed it, and this book, it's every issue is just an adventure. I can't wait for the next. It's a very good book. Doing a great job with it.
Awesome.
But let's see, the next book
I'll
would
have
be
more to say about Action Comics when I've read the trade, so that's why I'm saying nothing.
Yeah, like totally. If anybody's not reading it, individual issues, this is a book to pick up in trade because I think it may even actually read a little bit better in trade, but just to, kind of have the issues side by side. But still, it's a very good book. I'm very happy with it. It's a big surprise because at first I wasn't sure if Lex Luthor was going to be something that was going to kind of work, but it's really surprised me, and I hope they keep on with. I don't know if this is like a planned, like only so many issues and then it's going to end, or if this is going to be definite for a while. But shoot, I hope that they never stop having Lex in the book. It's very good. But Batman and Robin number 17 is something else, and so this is the first issue without Grant Morrison that I think. I mean, he didn't. Did he skip any issues between?
No, he did all of them.
Did all of them? Okay. So in this issue, we get the first issue without him since starting Batman Inc., and we actually get Paul Cornell on this also from Action Comics. And
you have a Cornell double bill this week.
Yeah. So so you read it too, JD. So what did you think about the first issue?
It was wacky, but in a completely different way than like a Grant Morrison way. And I did like that. Now that there's some comments about the way Dick is having this Batman develop, and in fact, there's a little bit of conflict even between Dick and Damian about what type of Batman and Robin they're going to be now that there's another Batman out there, and Dick can kind of relax and not feel like he's got to, live up to the previous Batman standards. I think it had to deal with the way jokes work out. I think was.
Yeah, I really like the comment where the comic basically starts, looks like a wedding for crazy people is going on, and Batman and Robin are kind of like breaking up the wedding. And in the issue, there's people are just talking crazy. It's like they're all saying, "What are we missing?" Just screaming it. And Batman and Robin basically says, "Is it us?" And Batman says, "Stop the wedding." And that's how the issue begins.
And then they have a whole discussion about how about what the joke was supposed to be when they open the door as they're kicking everybody's ass.
Yeah, Robin's like, all right, we both did it, but we really should try not to. And Batman's like, what? He says, we both had a line in. And Batman says, well, I've always wanted to say to stop a wedding. And they're basically just talking about how they shouldn't be having fun while they're doing this.
Right.
So I wouldn't mind Dick being the fun Batman.
Yeah, and that's basically what he gets down to, because He says, that doesn't mean we can't have fun doing it. And Robin says, that's an attitude. You didn't have when it was just you. Consider, hasn't the formation of Batman Inc., the return of the original, given everyone a license to be their own sort of Batman? In your case, we're only jolly Batman. And he just sort of laughs and he says, good point, but no. And he's just kind of neat because he's the smiling Batman because Dick Grayson, he's not going to be the one that doesn't smile. He's not Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, and I like them as Batman and Robin, and I was worried about with the new writer if it was going to carry over, and so far, I think it's definitely carrying over. But as far as the back text on this issue, there's a character. Has this character been talked about before, or is this just someone they're sort of shoehorning in, this Una Nemo?
I don't know.
I've not tell you.
I've not heard of her before, but there's like several female, romantic interests that Bruce Wayne's had over the years, so it is possible, that she existed. But I've not heard of her before. I mean, it could have been like before I was reading comics, or a moment when I quit getting DC, because there was a time when I quit buying DC altogether at one point. But I've not heard of her, but they pretty much put her into the, if she's a new character, they put her into the story well to make you think that she's been around for a while.
Yeah, and so there's a little bit back and forth. It's like there's a grave that's dug up, and they think it's her, but it's not her body; it's someone else's. And there keeps being things missing from the bodies. If it's first it's a finger, and then then they get the finger back, but the fingernail is missing. And it's one of those where the opening happens at the same time as the end, and there's a flashback.
Yeah, like the beginning's actually the end of the story, and then we jump back to how they got to the crazy wedding and stuff. Yeah.
Which I think worked for the story. I usually am not a fan of that, but I think it worked for this particular story.
I'll tell you what I'm not a fan of. This nasty-ass art.
Yeah, well, Scott McDaniel's art I don't think is awful, but I've never thought it worked for Batman,
Yeah.
I hate Scott McDaniel so much. So much.
And it does seem like a downside.
Actually, I didn't realize it was his at first. It's one of those moments where I didn't realize it was him, and I was looking at it, and I was going, this is fucking hideous. Who the fuck drew this? Oh, well. I hate his artwork. I do not understand how this chunky, scribbly mess is paid for by somebody and published. I hate his artwork. Okay,
I do think it's a downgrade from the art that we've been getting, though, because we've gotten some great artists on Batman and Robin. All the issues. Even when it was a fill-in artist, they always had a style to them that really stood out. You
wouldn't catch Grant Morrison requesting to work with Scott McDaniel.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But
Scott McDaniel has always struck me as like the kind of artist who should only ever be drawing anything if somebody needs a fill-in. And yet he keeps getting big runs on drawing things. Oh, the amount of Trinity backups that he drew.
Yeah. Well, this may be actually a fill-in because Paul Cornell, he's not going to be the
he's just doing 3 issues. Yeah,
he's just doing a couple issues, so this kind of qualifies for fill-in.
Yeah, because this is a 3-part, so yeah. But I think as far as the way Batman and Robin, the Dick and Damian versions are being portrayed, I like it. The story's kind of quirky and weird, and not so it may be a decent bridge from all the Morrison weirdness if we just have a slightly weird story.
Yeah.
To kind of get back into the swing. But, I like it. I think it's going to keep me reading Batman and Robin anyway. I think that was the big question mark is, now that Morrison's done with Batman and Robin, am I going to stay on or not? And so far, I like this. So far, I think I'll stick around.
Yeah, I was questioning it too. I think the real test will be like after we get the regular creative team on the book and then see. But for now, I'm perfectly fine buying another book that Cornell's doing. I'm fine with reading that.
Yep. Cool.
I don't have much to say about it other than how much I hate the art.
I noticed that.
And that's
me, I'm not usually the guy that hates on something that I fucking hate him.
I didn't think it was that bad, but okay. Okay.
Well, I think the irritation grew when I realized who it was drawing it.
Which
just close one eye, and pretend it's Mark Bagley.
There you go. Yeah.
My basic reaction was, that's not actually as bad as his usual work. I would have probably said because I didn't recognize it right away. So
Okay. So that was it. That's all of you.
Yeah. The only other stuff I had was Fantastic Four and Amazing Spider-Man, and I'm going to let McFeely talk Fantastic Four, and I might jump in and help.
Well,
I guess I'll start with that then.
Yay.
So, let me just refresh my memory of what happened in this what happened in this Fantastic Four is that Galactus will mess you up.
Yes, he will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Following on from last issue, where the Silver Surfer, or that the issue before last actually, where the Silver Surfer discovered, most concise way of explaining this, the dead body of Galactus from the future, buried beneath the earth by Reed Richards. Galactus turned up demanding explanations. And to Reed's credit, he basically just said, exactly what I've just said. I really like the fact that he didn't mess around and was like, well, in the future, on a dying Earth, a collection of the remaining blah, blah, blah. He knows enough not to mess Galactus around, just gets to the point.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something else going on here that we don't have the full picture of. This means something to Galactus. The energy that this body was saturated with, he recognizes it, and he's afraid of something, and he won't stay on Earth because of it, so he makes Reed leave with him. There's something going on there, and I'm very interested. And it suddenly made me, because, well, first of all, what we have to remember is this is part 3 of 3. And I don't believe it's the next issue, but the issue after next in which the death occurs. And I'm still no closer to figuring it out who it is, but...
Mm-hmm.
You would think a story called 3 would actually end at the 3rd chapter.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was ending at 4, because it's saying... Well, I guess it's saying Countdown to Casualty, so there's one more before Casualty?
Yeah, next month it will be 1, yeah.
Okay.
1 more to go. And while Reed is off doing that, Sue is trying to this is the culmination of a lot of things that Hickman has been laying down. Sue is trying to negotiate peace between Namor and the kings of old Atlantis, who the Fantastic Four found in a sealed Antarctic lake in an earlier issue.
They're like
while
the
Ben
fish-looking guys with the helmet full of water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those dudes.
Well, there are a couple of different species, actually. That's the problem. That's why negotiations are going so badly, because the old kings are like a couple of different species, a couple of different castes, and it's being requested that each of these separate things be considered a separate entity. So Namor is basically 1 on 3 or 4 instead of 1 on 1. The way this, so things are not going very well over there. Johnny and Ben are just sort of proceeding to get along with it. They're looking after the kids while the parents are off doing this stuff, and Ben's still enjoying being human. And the anti-priest, this religion, this negative zone religion that Annihilus has created, is getting ready to make its move as well. And this is connected with the city in the negative zone, because this again, the war of 4 cities is heating up. We have Atlantis, we have this negative zone city. We have the heck were the other 2 cities? I've forgotten now. One was the High Evolutionary City, and the other was the Inhumans, which we haven't seen. We know the Inhumans have already gone into the negative zone. That was a couple of issues back, so I'm just waiting for all this crap to seriously explode. And explode it do on the last page of this issue, but I'm not going to give that away. I mean, damn.
Because I'm reading this issue and I'm like, oh, this is this is okay, and
Guys
Galactus
sitting
is,
around chatting here.
oh yeah, it's sort of, okay, and Galactus is kind of doing his thing, but he's not really blowing anything up, so that's fine.
This is pulling along quite sedately.
You know,
he's handling things. He knows something. Oh God, damn it, Namor!
Yeah, and then you're like,
all you have to say is Imperious Rex. Imperious Rex.
But I'm like, what? Holy crap! Holy crap! Yeah. It just sort of left field there at the end.
I like my Namor with shades of grey, and I think the best Fantastic Four stories with Namor do cast him that way. But I'll say no more than that because I don't want to blow that. But I'm still absolutely. I mean, Steve Epting's art continues to be great on this as well. But there's something very low key about this three storyline overall. For all of the hugely cosmic things that are happening, and even the big small things, if you know what I mean when I say that in reference to Ben becoming human again last issue, it's all very sedate. And I think that's working to create a wonderfully uneasy atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, this issue is the calm before the storm, basically. Galactus is like, come if you're coming. And Raid's like, grand. And then the Annihilus is all like, you near done there? And they're like, aye, the Mara. Aye, grand. That'll be great. Everybody's just getting ready. And then Namor goes and blows it all open at the end of the issue.
Yeah. Whoop ass.
So
open. There you go.
There's various things are opened.
Yeah.
Body parts and hostilities and certain cavities. So I continue to love Hickman's Fantastic Four. But I don't. It's been a very long time since I've read a comic where I think my opinion of this issue and the last issue, and I'm almost certain the next issue as well, will be shaped by my overwhelming desire to find out what's going to happen at the end of this.
Yeah, it's a lot of build up, and if it doesn't pay off, that's going to be the thing right there.
That is going to suck really hard if it doesn't pay off, definitely. But the fact is, I also can't remember a story where they hadn't clearly signposted something like this. When big things happen in comics, for the last couple of years, it's been pretty easy to see where they've been headed.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason here, I mean, he's just put each of the characters in a situation where it could be any one of them.
Yeah.
Except Johnny.
Yeah.
Because if Johnny died, it's like he's not doing or hasn't done anything, and unless it's kind of like they're holding him in reserve until the big moment, then he'll be the one to go. I can't predict it at all. And this assumes that anybody is really going to die. Mm-hmm. This is the thing. It's like so much of this issue. I would like to say something more genuine about this specific comic, but I find it very difficult because my attentions are so focused on what it represents and what is coming. If you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. I'm distracted by the portents for the future. But what else do we have here? The Ultimate Spider-Man. You didn't read Ultimate Spider-Man this week, Triplet?
No, I didn't get around to it. I'm sorry. I wanted to.
Well, don't stress yourself.
So it was not the greatest comic ever.
I gotta admit, I was pretty disappointed by this one. This is the 150th issue of Ultimate Spider-Man, and it contains a 40-page lead story. So it's a pretty big lead story. Because this is I don't know how many pages are in this season. This is a damn huge comic. This might be 100 pages. It carries a $6 price tag.
Oh,
60.
Might as well be.
Well, it's a $6 price tag. It's got a 40-page new story by Bendis with art by David LaFuente and Sarah Pichelli, the regulars, and then some other sections by Joel Jones, Jamie McKelvey, and some very nice work by Scotty Young, who I was talking about last week on the Marvelous Land of Oz. And then the rest of the issue is made up by a reprint of the Ultimate Spider-Man Super Special. Now, I'm not sure if this has been I don't think this has been reprinted in any of the Ultimate Spider-Man trade paperbacks. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I don't think it has. So I'm assuming that's why they've chosen to reprint it as the backup in this. Now, this thing is this is brilliant. This is great. The the Super Special backup is great. It is entirely written by Bendis. I mean, it's got to be about, I guess it must be about 40 pages. Actually, are there any ads in this thing? Well, actually, this has been reprinted without ads. So actually, I hang on one sec. I'm just gonna hang on. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 20. You can edit this bit out later. 22. 26,
I don't edit the show.
68, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, 54, 56, 112? Really? 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21, 22, 30, 32, this might be 120 pages long.
Good lord.
Good lord.
As a comic. So, so there's the 40-page lead story, and then the rest of it plus ads is the Ultimate Spider-Man Super Special, which is a collection of stories and a cavalcade of quality artists, including Alex Maleev, John Romita Sr., Frank Cho, Jim Mahfood, Michael Avon-Oeming, Sean Phillips, Mark Bagley, Bill Sienkiewicz, P. Craig Russell, Leonard Kirk, Dave Gibbons, David Mack, Ashley Wood, and more. And it's a collection of short, team-up stories with Spidey, ending with a great montage piece. And it's practically worth the price of admission alone. It's a great bit of work. The lead story, sadly, is not so much. It is not a bad story. It is not. It is an entertaining story in which Spidey beats up the Ringer. Hooray, the ultimate Ringer. Brilliant. But Carol Danvers, following on from last issue and what we were talking about last week about the death of Ultimate Spider-Man, needs to figure out what to do about the Spider-Man situation. So she gets Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor in to discuss it with, leading into a series of 3 short stories in which each of them relate a team-up they had with Spider-Man. Tony's all for the idea of letting him do his thing. Cap doesn't think he's ready, and Thor thinks that he is a brave soul who should be honored. So Cap is the only, and they come to a decision. And I'm not gonna blow what their decision is. The last page twist again, so I'm not gonna spoil it. But Carol Danvers decides what needs to be done about the situation, and that is, I know it's going to drive the book for a little bit anyway. But it's not to kill him, so we don't have to worry about that being the plot, as we maybe speculated last week. And it's a fine story. It's the Spidey versus the Ringer is by La Fuente. Pichelli draws the framing sequence of Danvers talking with the Ultimates, and then 3 different artists do the Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor stories, with Scotty Young doing a particularly nice job on the Thor section, in which we get Ultimate Man Gog. So that was awesome. If you don't know who Man Gog is, big Thor, red and yellow monster with the power of a billion beings. I'm very fond of telling you that over and over again. But ultimately, it was a fine story. In fact, if this had been a regular issue of the comic, well, it would never have been a regular issue of the comic, because the idea it is supposed to be a creator showcase, and one of those anniversary issues where vignettes show the best and the worst of the character and all of that. But ultimately, the conclusion that they come to, and it just simply doesn't feel like a landmark moment. This story and its resolution and where it's going does not feel like it was something that had to be reserved for something landmarky like the 150th issue. That is really just my complaint with it. It would be fine if it was an ordinary issue and they hadn't included all of these... Because ultimately, it's just an excuse to do these vignettes. These vignettes don't shape the direction the story takes. They're just something to make the story be 40 pages long.
Well, didn't they kind of pull the rug out from under this already by announcing that he's going to die?
Die in air quotes.
But I'm saying, doesn't that sort of take all of the wind out of your 150th issue when you know that there's going to be probably
Something
a bigger event,
yeah,
in 3 months?
But then I don't think the 150th issue should ever be a kicking off point for something like that either. But you can't let it pass without celebrating it either. I guess he was. I guess like creatively, I guess he was sort of between a rock and a hard place as far as producing the issue goes, because there's something very big in the next 2-3 months, but he can't kick it off yet, and he's got to do something. So here we are.
Lovely.
It's very pretty. It's a very nice, and as I say, the super special is great. It is worth reading the comic for. It is genuinely excellent stuff. The lead story, it's not that it's bad. It's just that it's not landmarky enough.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, to be honest, disappointment was the feeling I came away with. Not because of anything the comic did, but more because of what it didn't do, if that makes any sense. What else do I have? Well, Secret Warriors this week is the only one story arc. This is the end of the second to last story arc on Secret Warriors. And Nick Fury is a stone cold mother.
Shut your mouth.
Nick Fury. Unscripted, folks. Live copy for your eyes.
That's the kind of quality you get here.
Right here, live on Fanboy Versus. Yes, Nick Fury lets a dude. I don't actually, I'm not. I don't really have much to talk about in this issue, otherwise, because I never really talk about Secret Warriors on the show because it kind of breezes in and breezes out. I enjoy it well enough, but it doesn't excite me enough to talk about it. But there was a really awesome scene in this where he was just a bad mother, and yeah, you should go and check that scene out purely for that. Secret Avengers again. You didn't read this one this week, Triplet?
No, I missed it. Sorry. I'll get caught up and I'll have it read for like the next issue. But yeah, I didn't have time.
Well,
sorry.
Again, I don't have a heck of a lot to say about it. It's much the same as the last issue. The
last issue ended with Shang-Chi's dad, right? That was
the
last issue ended. Yeah. Okay.
And basically, in this issue, they're still trying to resurrect Shang-Chi's dad, and they do some fighting to make that happen. The organization, what do you call them? Actually, that's not even the Shadow organization. Whatever what's the High Dai, the Shang-Chi's father's cult or clan or whatever. They capture Shang-Chi, and Ant-Man gets to rescue him, which is nice, but he's still. And there's some more with this Prince of Orphans character who I don't know, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to. And once again, the coolest scene is the thing that has been the coolest thing about the book so far, which was the Max Fury issue, in which John Steele has made the jump from the Marvels project to something mainstream, and I desperately want this comic to excite me. It's not a bad comic.
Mm-hmm.
Nice art, solid story. It's just not lighting my world on fire. I wish it would. I want to love it, but
it's just kind of falling behind. It's sort of like the last Avengers book. All the other Avengers books have something awesome going on with it. Yeah,
but there was a poll on Newsarama this week, and the Newsarama community voted this the best one.
Really?
And I just can't see it, honestly. I would like to.
Maybe they're not reading New Avengers.
I don't But yeah, New Avengers is the best one. Well, but this poll included Academy, so Academy gets my vote. But out of the three, it's New Avengers for me. I also read X-Men Forever 2 this week, but to try and sum up the ongoing plot of a Chris Claremont comic would just take up more airtime than we have. So suffice it to say, it moves towards the running mystery. You remember when comics had running mysteries? It's a good time.
Is that something like a subplot?
Yeah, it's one of those far and lost things. Since the start of X-Men Forever, there has been Storm turned on the team, killed Wolverine, and not too much longer after, a young version of Storm appeared alongside her. And the implication of the story was that Storm, back in the late 80s, like maybe 89, 90, Storm, beg your pardon, Storm was captured and regressed back into a child. No, she got back. She got better. But the position that this story is taking is that no, she didn't. And the Storm that has been with the X-Men since then has been an imposter. And this apparent imposter Storm, but it's been leaving it open. We don't really know. But this apparent imposter Storm has gone off and overthrown and killed the Black Panther and become the Queen of Wakanda, while the young the young Storm has joined up with the X-Men and was last issue captured by the mysterious figure known as the Ghost Panther, which is the Black Panther's but like white armor instead of black, and taken to his headquarters on Genosha, where mysteries are being plotted to take down Perfect Storm, is what this evil Storm, the Queen of Wakanda, is calling herself. And the mask came off the Ghost Panther's costume in this issue, and I just twigged what was going on about 2 pages before the mask came off. That's all I'll say.
That sounds...
X-Men Forever is the only X-Men book I read. I don't give a fig about the X-Men, where they are now, where they're going. I do not care. But I really enjoy Chris Claremont's classic X-Men. I always grab the new Essential volumes when they come out. As soon as only one more Essential volume should finish Chris Claremont's X-Men. 10 volumes from 75 through until 1990. And they would need to get that volume out sometime soon because I want to finish that. And X-Men Forever, I have really enjoyed. It is ending in 2 issues' time. And I'm going to miss it, I think. But
do you think they'll be able to tie everything up, or do you think it's just going to kind of end?
The plot line feels like it has kicked off very quickly in the last couple of issues. It has accelerated. So I think maybe this is maybe the Claremont has been made aware of the upcoming cancellation and just moved things along faster. I'm not 100% sure, but this particular story does look like it's going to be able to come to a solid conclusion. Whether or not they'll be able to wrap up the various subplots, like the evil Wolverine clone that's currently stalking around, or the fact that Mariko, Wolverine's would-have-been wife, is now in charge of in charge of the professional podcast, the consortium. Is now in charge of the consortium, the evil anti-mutant organization, which was threatening the X-Men all through the first volume. I don't know if we can get... I mean, the Mariko plotline is tied in with this whole Ghost Panther, Perfect Storm, Wakanda storyline, so maybe... I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But things are heated up. I'm really enjoying the book, and I think people should give it a chance in trade if they didn't in individual issues, because it's a kind of a closed-off concept. You know, there's not a huge market for what if Chris Claremont never stopped writing the X-Men 20 years ago. But
there should be.
There should be. I mean, the fact that it's getting cancelled pretty much proves that there isn't. There again, bi-weekly comic at $4. You know, maybe not gonna sell as many as you'd like.
Yeah.
So that's me. Did you read Marvel Boy this week, Triplet?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you
Forgot
did?
about that.
Well, I wasn't even going to bring it up. Oh, you did read it. Oh, well, let's talk Marvel Boy then. What did you think?
It was good. I liked it. It's Grant Morrison's. It was weird as shit. So
one of the weirdest things I've read from Grant Morrison. This is.
and it was also J.G. Jones doing the art.
Yes, the Final Crisis creative team. So when you put those two guys together, you wind up with impenetrable madness, obviously. This, for the readers at home, was a 6-issue miniseries that Morrison did in 2001. which introduced Novar, a Kree from another universe, who has since gone on to join the New Avengers, or rather the regular type Avengers. Although you wouldn't know it to read this miniseries, you wouldn't recognize the character because Bendis is just, I don't know, he's not a nice person. This Novar. He and his crew are lost in the multiverse. Through by way of a cosmic accident involving astro gods and such like, and are shot down into the Marvel reality by an evil supervillain named Dr. Midas, with the artificially granted cosmic power to turn any situation to his advantage.
And it looks like he's wearing the golden Iron Man armor, is what it looks like.
For some reason.
Yeah.
And a trench coat.
In a trench coat, yeah.
But I love that as a power that's so very Morrison and so conceptual. He has the power to turn a situation to his advantage somehow in any way. But of course, Novar breaks free of him and then spends the next couple of issues just sort of letting the world know that he's out there and he's out to fix their screwed upness.
Well, he kind of wants revenge because he blames Earth for his people dying on his ship.
And yet he doesn't kill anybody.
No, he doesn't kill anybody. He just kind of wants to show us the error of our, backwater ways, I guess.
And in the third issue, actually goes out of his way to save the world from a threat. In the second issue, he fights a shield team called the Bannermen.
Yeah.
Who are gamma-empowered, adamantium-laced super soldiers.
And they all look like Captain America.
Yeah. And in the third issue, which I think was my favorite issue, Digital Concentration Camp 1, he fights an entity which has escaped from his crashed spaceship, Hexus the Living Corporation.
Yeah. That was awesome.
It is, and I'll tell you why I thought it was awesome was because it is pure Howard the Duck. It is one of those concepts that somebody like Steve Gerber would have made on the commercial nature of society. And it's like, this is the sort of thing that Gerber used to attack during in his Howard the Duck in the 70s. But, of course, this is in a very Morrison sense. This is a purely non-corporeal concept being. It is just an idea.
He can't punch it or shoot it.
It can't be punched. It is a corporation. It is a faceless, bodiless idea. But it slowly but surely spreads its way through popular media and absorbs other companies into itself. And the whole, I mean, that in particular, the miniseries reads like Final Crisis meets Howard the Duck. And this was definitely my favorite issue out of all of it. And then the final run of the three issues involve him being hunted by Dr. Midas's daughter, the Exterminatrix, and then eventually, romancing her is not really the right word, but wakening her up to her father's insanity.
Exterminatrix?
Yes.
Yep.
She is dressed exactly as kinkily as you think she is.
So what I'm picturing now is what the character looks like.
I would be willing to bet money.
Okay. Pretty close, yeah.
How does she talk with the bulk egg, though?
That's the you're joking, but it's the one piece of the outfit she's not wearing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're literally on the money.
Maybe she's not wearing one, but she sort of has one because of her dad until she decides to kick it off. Kind of metaphysically or something, or metaphorically.
Yeah, there's definitely.
Oh wow! Now we're really getting. These again are the sort of in-depth discussions that you get only on Fanboy Versus.
And only about Grant Morrison material.
Yeah.
Most of them, yeah.
Because Midas is essentially pursuing Novar after he escapes because he wants to access the cosmically powered engine of his spaceship so that he can use it to... I mean, he has deliberately exposed himself to cosmic rays to gain what power he has.
He wants to be the Fantastic Four, basically. He wants to be like Richards.
Yeah, he wants to be them in one guy. And, spoilers and all, but he succeeds. And that leads to a bit of a big blowout. But as you'll know if you've read any of Novar's subsequent appearances, he gets captured and carted off to jail at the end of this. He's taken to the Cube, which was the setting for this week's Avengers episode, but that's for another time. And reading this really makes me want to go and read the Runaways Young Avengers Civil War crossover miniseries, which was when he appeared next.
Yeah, I've not read any of the other stuff that follows this. So as far as this and him showing up in Avengers now, that's all I pretty much know about the character. I mean, I knew he was kicking around out there. I just didn't know if he was...
You probably have to have been informed that that was the same character as well.
Yeah, I just didn't know if he was the same character, because I kind of got the idea, since this was like a Marvel Knights book, that maybe he was like in another universe. You know, like maybe this wasn't
at the time this was published, I don't think there was too much regard for whether that mattered or not. But then when they published Runaways Young Avengers Civil War miniseries, and they brought him back in that was, you know, they stood up and said yes. So it is... Final Crisis meets Hard Luck is honestly the best way I can think to describe it. It's cosmic, it's kinky, it's Morrison doing all the things that he loves to do with Golden Age concepts and Silver Age concepts, like the mindless ones from Doctor Strange and the powers of the Fantastic Four in one man, mixed and, you know, super soldiers that are adamantium Hulks, basically, you know, adamantium Hulk, Captain America men. And more abstract things like a living corporation, which I just loved.
Yeah.
One thing that might catch you off guard is when the president appears in this comic. Because it's Clinton.
Yeah.
And I just went, really? This is that old? Because this doesn't feel like a comic that's that old.
Yeah, when I read it, I was like, hey, that's Clinton. Oh, my God.
Oh, God. Yeah, exactly the reaction. It's like I'm used to seeing Bush in comics, you know? I mean, and technically this would have been published when Bush was just getting into office, but obviously it was written because at the time it was being written, Clinton was president, and it was like, wow, it's really, you know, this is really a comic of the now. I don't want to say like ahead of its time or whatever, because this is just what Morrison always produces, but to see the creative team of Final Crisis doing something that is so very much like Final Crisis, if infinitely coherent than Final Crisis, and then see Clinton in it, really just sort of took me off guard.
Yeah, I mean, I knew this was old because I've had this trade for probably a good 3 years, been wanting to read it, just never got around to doing it. And I knew it was old, but it still kind of took me by surprise when I saw him. I was like, is it that old?
Yeah.
But one stupid question. Can I ask a stupid question? Midas's daughter, that's not the same character that's still hanging out with Novar, is it? You know, he's got like a girlfriend.
No, that's somebody he met in Dark Avengers Annual? Was it? There was a Novar solo story recently. I think it was in the Dark Avengers Annual.
Okay.
And that's where he met that girl. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because, like I said, this is like the only thing I've read other than Avengers on the characters. I didn't know.
Well, that's Marvel Boy. A little something different for you this week, and believe me, different doesn't do that justice. But worth if you definitely, if you enjoy Grant Morrison, or indeed, if you enjoy Howard the Duck or the socio-political commentaries of Steve Gerber, worth a look, definitely. If only for the third issue, worth a look.
Yeah, very good. I can't recommend it enough.
Didn't really read any graphic novels myself this week. Was a bad boy and read a real book instead.
No. Without pictures?
No.
Okay. So that's me then.
JD, what do you got?
Okay. Apparently all I have left is Justice League Generation Lost. Because we're going to do big time at the end. So, very weird. I bought 2 Marvels and 2 DCs this week. I don't know. That's weird. For me, anyway. Okay. Generation Lost. Very similar to the beginning of issue a few months ago where Captain Atom is somewhere in the time stream, but he's not sure where. And in the middle of trying to figure out where he's at, he gets shot out by an enormous OMAC, which knows what he is and tries to kill him. But he's
As soon as
saved.
that laser beam appeared in that last panel, I was like, oh, I'm going to turn this page and there's going to be an OMAC. Oh, I get a cookie.
Yay! Yay! You figure it out. So yeah. But hey, he gets saved by the Justice League. Ish. From the future. Ish. Which consists of Batman, Damian Batman, nonetheless. Red Hood, which is Thomas Grayson, which is a little weird, but whatever. Female Shazam, the Creeper, Blue Scarab, which is a descendant of the Blue Beetle, but doesn't make any sense because all he talks is alien. Black Canary, which is apparently a descendant of Hawk and Dove, which also doesn't make sense. Plastic Man clone, which doesn't look human, and apparently the original Martian Manhunter. Damian's been sticking around by swimming in the Lazarus pits, so that's exciting. And also have Kara, who is apparently still alive. And yes. So most of this issue is Captain Atom. Of course, Captain Atom doesn't have his powers because he's been thrown into the future where he has to recharge. Why that is, I don't know. But that's what happens. But the future Justice League has found a boom tube. They're trying to stop the OMACs because apparently there's this whole thing that they don't really explain to him until later. But they basically say that there was a war and that they fought metahumans fought metahumans, and then they fought humanity, and then everybody fought everybody else, and then everybody lost when the OMACs showed up. So I'm
really tired of OMACs being used in apocalyptic scenarios.
Well, but it's Maxwell Lord, and of course he's becoming.
Well, yeah, it's not that it doesn't make sense. It's just that I've read enough Booster Gold to be tired of OMACs being used to represent. Oh no, the bad times.
Yes, but they end up. So our team of Justice League people end up on the moon to stop the transponder, I guess. I think that's what they said they were doing. And it all goes horribly wrong when the new OMAC project, I guess, is unleashed, and parts of the team start to transform into OMACs because it's more like the original OMAC thing with the nanos. Yeah. Anyway, Captain Atom starts to get his powers back, but in the meantime, he's trying to get Kara to tell him what was the catalyst, what happened, because he wants to go back in time and fix, to his time, to make whatever had happened not happen. And she keeps talking around the subject, but not really making it clear until the very end, when he's just about to leave, and she tells him that there was, because she keeps saying, well, there wasn't one thing, there was a lot of things. And he's like, there has to be one thing, what was it? And she says, it's Diana. Max apparently killed, or I'm assuming that's what she's saying, Maxwell Lord killed Wonder Woman. Which I find, and I find that interesting, because in the issue of Flash, we had the image of the two current versions of Wonder Woman as, that we had the two images of her, and there was another mention, I think, of somewhere else within the Brightest Day stuff of Wonder Woman. So I'm starting to wonder if that's not going to become more of a story, like she's not going to become more prominent within the Brightest Day stuff. That maybe they're going to use that to put her storyline straight. I don't know, or maybe I'm just digging.
Required to care,
but
yeah.
Thanks, McFeely. Anyway, yeah. Now, the interesting thing is, at the end of this deal, they end up stopping whatever it was that the Justice League had gone to the moon to destroy, and it blew up part of the moon. So it leaves the moon the way it was when Captain Atom saw it further in the future a few months ago.
In an earlier issue, right?
Right. So
because that was part of when he went to the future the first time was part of when I wasn't paying attention to Jan Lost.
Right. And so now the moon is the way it was when he saw it in the future, further in the future, which means he hasn't fixed anything yet.
Tell us this. What relevance does all this have to Jen Lost? Because I picked this issue up after like last issue's holy crap kaboom issue. I picked this up, and then instead of dealing with that, I got some story about Captain Atom in the future, monkeying around with a load of Elseworlds future versions of characters, and blowing up a bit of the moon.
You know,
It seems to me like these little future jaunts are not moving things along. And I've said it before. We've said it before. But how does this plot fill 26 issues? And now that they've exploded Magog, I really don't know how this plot fills 26 issues. So is this another trip into the future to prompt Captain Atom into the next micro arc that will fill out the next 7 issues of this run, and then one more trip later on around issues 20 to finish it off?
You know, I don't know. And, I mean, at this point, it's almost like this is like a not a chess game, but it's got a lot of those highs and lows moments where, you know, yeah, I agree with you that last issue was a high point, and then this is sort of back to a low point. But it does seem to be that there's several different levels of plot lines that are moving along. You know, we're seeing this moment again where Captain Atom's in the future, and he's seeing that same future, and there's more discussion about how he's changing. So it's like they keep sort of moving around the board and dealing with the different characters. And I'm imagining that at some point when we get to this end point in Brightest Day, that all of those pieces will fit together. It's just that not every piece is going to be as exciting as the next until you get it all together. I mean, it's just like we said about everything about Jen Lost, which is that previously and up to a certain point, it wasn't that interesting. And yes, there are those lows like this, but you need these lows like this to have that high point, payoff. And, you know, I don't know. I think it's going to get there, especially with this talk about Wonder Woman now, and I think that if I'm right, if it's tying in, you know, I mean, we're at the midpoint of Brightest Day now, correct? So we should be starting to hit the upward climb of everything. So I don't know.
Talking about Brightest Day, so there's nothing with the whole Batman and needing to talk to Maxwell Lord and all that about Maxwell Lord and all that stuff in there.
Not in this, but it was in the other Brightest.
All in the future.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's, you know.
So maybe that's going to be something that happens in the next coming issues, I guess.
Right, because we'll get Brightest Day again next week, and so I think it's all going to tie together. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's just coming off of all everything that happened last issue. This is definitely sort of a not bring it down, but it's certainly like a plateau. It doesn't increase the story.
Yeah, that's the thing, because it's not the lull after the big moment, because it's still presenting itself as big and relevant.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, I didn't read the thing in full. You know, it was just that I wanted to picked it up off out of the box and flipped through it because I wanted to see what happened after the big explosion. And it was like, oh, okay, right. I have copies of that. Next thing out of the box.
Yeah, I think it's going to start to escalate pretty quick, though. I think we've got a lot of the base points down, and now I think it's going to really take off. So, speaking of things that are taking off,
damn, baby.
Big time, taking off in a big way. Dan Slott has huge cojones. Let's just say that.
Heck yes.
Because we open up, I don't know, I figure we'll go around the table on this, but I want to get moving on it. So, we open up with a little bit of a kind of intro for the original Kingsley version of Hobgoblin. And he talks about how awesome he is, and how much he loves his job, and he gets rehired by Kingpin and swears his allegiance to him, and so he decides he needs to...
And we sort of find out what's been happening to him, why he's not been showing up in Spider-Man, because Osborn kind of kept him out of America. He's been like in other countries.
Yeah, kind of hiding out and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of hiding out because he talks about how he wants to get paid in actual cash because Osborn took care of his bank account and took all of his money, and he couldn't get back to America, or he was keeping him out of America.
That is literally what that is. That, again, it's such a little thing, but
yeah, it's like a little.
It's the touch of slot.
Yeah.
Because the last time we saw Kingsley, he wasn't in America. No, Norman hates him. Norman got in charge. It's taking a story thread that's over and done with now, but he's still drawing on it to make the very logical plot elements and draw them out of it.
And the whole reason he's coming back is because he found out that Osborn's basically, gone. And he thinks now's his time to shine. It's time for the Hobgoblin to return.
Yep. And so he takes his spot and hey, Triplet, run for a second, would you?
Okay. Yeah. So basically, he he finds out that Osborn's done. He's in prison. He returns to America, and he thinks he's going to get in good favors with Kingpin. That he thinks maybe he's going to become something big again and make the big money in America. And so before he can do that, I think Kingpin kind of wants him to have kind of like a test. He's going to send him to do just kind of like a test job to test his allegiance. And he thinks that he's going to need more weapons. He's going to need some new weapons to kind of back himself up. So he goes to one of Osborn's, storage rooms where he keeps like all of the goblin gear and stuff. One of them that he remembered and he knows the location of. And this is when the book kind of goes crazy. Because as Hobgoblin is looking through the weapons, looking at the new upgrades that Norman's made, like a flaming sword and stuff like shoes with little hooks on them and stuff, he notices there's something sitting on the table, and he says, "So what's next on the tour? Maybe." And then he sees a freshly brewed cup of coffee, and he knows that there's somebody. He knows that there's somebody in the room with him. He knows it's not Osborn because he says Osborn would face him. So he goes looking for this person, and lo and behold, it's Phil Urich, Ben Urich's nephew.
Remember him?
Yeah, remember that?
I don't. Anyway.
Which
he pops up every now and again, but.
Which if you can remember a long ways back, I think like the '90s back is when this happened.
Yep.
He had his own comic, and he was actually a Green Goblin, but he was a Green Goblin superhero.
You're talking like 95, 96 there. 95 through 96.
Wow.
It didn't last long. The book got canceled pretty quick. But yeah, he was a character that he was a superhero, and he had a Green Goblin costume. And he was trying to be a good Green Goblin and stuff. But Kingsley finds him, and Phil Urich is like freaking out, and he thinks, oh God, he's gonna kill me, and that's what Kingsley's planning on doing. He knows that he found the place. He can't let anybody else know where that place is. So he picks up that flaming sword that Osborn's created with the intention of killing him. But then Phil basically says, "Wait, you're going to kill me because I'm a wannabe goblin. My life's a joke, and that's the punchline I'm going out on. Kind of funny when you think about it. A real scream, actually." And then he starts laughing. And laughing, and his laugh is basically like a sonic scream. That's like one of his powers that he had. He uses it to basically cause Kingsley's head to start gushing blood out. He can't concentrate. And he picks up the flaming sword, and he kills the freaking Hobgoblin.
God damn! I was like, oh my crap!
Oh my God! I was like,
He just killed him. He cut his head off.
Do you know how many fat 40-year-old nerds you've just enraged?
I could not believe it.
I got to and this is like 6 pages into this issue, and I got to that point, and I had to stop for a minute to comprehend what just happened, and I actually went back to the beginning of the issue and reread every bit of it just to make sense of it, because I thought I'd missed something up to this point.
Yeah.
I know, because holy crap! I mean, Phil was the good Green Goblin. I mean, Phil, I think last appeared, or at least in any kind of significant capacity, was in a miniseries called Loners, which was a Runaways spin-off about teenagers who had been superheroes and were trying to give it up. And then it showed that Phil was straying onto a dark path. Again, it's that little touch of slot, taking the little things and moving forward with them. But holy damn!
I mean, he showed up.
I didn't think he was maybe really dead, until he lifted his severed head up onto the panel.
Yeah, I mean, there is no question. It's not like one of those deals where it's, slash to the chest, I may be alive. No.
I cut his head off.
And you can see how sick this guy is, because he picks up his head, he talks to it, and makes a joke. He says, because now you don't get to be one of the goblins who comes back. And he says, "Sorry," and then he says, "Sorry," while he's shaking his head.
Yeah, like the little talking mouth. Oh my god.
And then he says, I'm keeping you as a paperweight. This dude is sick in the head now.
Yeah.
Every single person who ever liked Spider-Girl hates this comic.
Oh my god.
Phil Urich was a good guy, Anybody who ever enjoyed Phil's comic or read comics in the 90s, basically, and thought they were brilliant.
I
can't believe he did this.
It's a double screw, really, because he took one character that was good and made him completely messed up, and then took another great villainous character of Kingsley and just killed him. Bye.
I mean,
That's the funny thing about Kingsley, though. I mean, we've talked about the Hobgoblin's history before, but it's like the Hobgoblin was awesome back in the day. But then for 15 years, everybody thought he was Ned Leeds. And then Roderick Kingsley came back, and so all of Roderick Kingsley's rep, because he only did like 3 issues after he came back, all of his rep is sort of retroactive.
Yeah.
Everybody credited his work to Ned Leeds for the longest time.
Well, I think what made Hobgoblin so awesome, though, back in the day was that the mystery. He was the Green Goblin. We didn't know who he was. He wasn't Norman. He couldn't be Norman. And I think that's what made it so awesome. And Spidey knows who Kingsley is. Now he doesn't know who the Hobgoblin is. Mm-hmm. And that mystery, it's sort of back now.
Yeah, they could never have done another mystery again, so they're coming at it from a wholly different angle now.
I mean, we as an audience know who it is, and it kind of makes it even scarier because we know, like in this issue, and then also the previous issue, we know he's sweet on the reporter, Nora Winters, and then you can just sort of see where this is going to go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's who knows. I mean,
I mean, it's like that's it. That's all we need to talk about. That's it. That was the big thing. That was, oh man. But there was some. I mean, not that it wasn't, but the rest of the issue. I mean, what do you say?
The rest of the issue was good. I mean, it was fine. It was basically Pete going to this first day at his job and whatnot, and
hanging
and
out
all
with
that.
Black Cat.
Yeah, it's cool that Black Cat thinks that she's buddy with Spider-Man. She's going to get in the Avengers. That kind of makes me laugh.
That's funny.
But all of that's overshadowed by like the first 6 pages of the comic.
I couldn't friggin' believe it.
Yeah,
I'm still shocked by it.
Yeah.
It is so wrong.
And
you shouldn't. You. I mean, I'm not affronted by it or anything.
No, I
There's
think
maybe
it's awesome.
A tiny little black part of me is like, you can't do that, but that is what makes it even all the more brilliant.
Because you can. Because he did. He just did it.
He fucking did it. He took that guy's head clean off.
Yep.
I mean, you've got to be bold with it if you want to make this a defining run on Spider-Man, and you can't get more bold than that.
And he didn't even do it. We talk so much about the end of the comic, deal where it's like that's got to be where the big thing happens. No, he just beginning right there, threw it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't even talk about spoilers on it because it's like that's right there.
Yeah.
It's the introduction to the comic.
Yeah. But it does end up coming back around at the end because he does end up breaking into the
the think
tank.
Yeah, because that's his test.
I've never been clear if Spidey ever knew Phil was a goblin or not. I don't think he did.
I don't know if he did or not. I'm not sure. I don't know about that.
Because but the only significant appearances Phil has put in since the Green Goblin series has been as an adult in Spider-Girl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he knows there, obviously, but that doesn't.
Yeah.
But,
But yeah, basically, Hobgoblin, new Hobgoblin attacks the think tank because it's basically Kingpin's test for his loyalty, which he's basically taking over Kingsley's job without, Kingpin knowing that this is a different guy.
right.
Yeah.
Yep. And
I
Spider-Man's gonna die. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, basically, it's like every Spider-Man comic, he does the Sonic laugh on him, and Spidey's about to is killed over, and he's
How's he gonna get out of this one?
sword and all that, and oh my god, to be continued.
Yeah. So
But,
I'm hooked. I'm definitely putting that in the pull list.
Hobgoblin's redesign, though, is one thing I want to make a note
Oh
of.
yeah.
Oh,
Ramis designed him, and it looks so awesome. This guy knows what he's doing with redesigning Spidey villains, because I don't know if you guys remember, like, years and years ago, when he redesigned the Green Goblin and kind of gave him the kind of, chainmail looking sort of.
I wasn't too big on that one, to be honest.
I was pretty fond of it, and he's kind of done the same thing with
Oh
Hobgoblin.
yeah, he's done a great job on this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's cool. It's a cool modern look to him, and I can't wait for the next issue.
Yep. I'm hooked.
Definitely.
I'm putting it in the pull list. So I'm getting that
This
for now.
death
Okay.
of Spider-Man is infinitely more interesting than the other one they're trailing at the minute.
Yeah. So real quick, let's talk one Young Justice, and then we'll get out of here.
Right? Okay.
Is that okay? I mean, are we cool? Is that? I mean, I don't know what else to say. He
Yeah.
cut the guy's head off.
Yeah,
Dude, right off
I mean,
with a sword made of fire.
a
the
flaming sword, fire, decapitated. I mean, that's that enough
we
is
said-
reason enough to buy this issue. But
As we said at the very start of the show, he's either completely insane or an absolute genius, that Dan Slott.
yeah.
I'm leaning
But
towards
even-
genius.
But either way, he's
Little
got
bit of
big
both.
balls. I mean, just the fact that
Balls involved.
I mean, wow. To get that through editorial and everything, I mean, that's just like,
Yeah.
wow. Bravo, sir. Bravo.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Young Justice. Let's talk that real quick before we get out of here. What did you guys think?
I really liked it.
Yep. Likewise.
I mean, of all the crap that like premiered Friday, and I'm not saying crap isn't like it was bad stuff. I mean, there's like a lot of stuff that came out
Yeah.
Friday. I think this was my favorite thing that premiered because I really, really enjoyed it.
Do we know what version of Robin this is? Have they made
don't-
that?
I believe it's supposed to be Dick.
I don't know. I mean, were there hints that it could be
It
Dick?
does. No, it's not that. It's that I've read that they've said it's Dick.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it
That's really
seems
weird.
more like Tim, but really the only reason that they're calling it Dick is because, and this is just this show is produced by Greg Weisman, who did Gargoyles and he did Spectacular Spider-Man. So there is a lot of thought, exactly, but there is a lot of thought that has gone into the structure, setting, and general just build of this universe that we'll never really see evident in the show. But it's just the level of thought that's gone into it to shape the universe. And basically, what has been said is, this is a very young universe. Superman's only been around for 10 years. Batman's only been around for, 8 or 9, whatever, after that. So the simple logic is, Batman really can't be on his third Robin by now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess
It
that
makes
makes sense.
sense.
It's still kind of weird, though, that it's the current Aqualad, then. But
So
Well,
what do you think about that? I mean, what do you think about Aqualad? I mean,
He's
I thought he was
interesting.
pretty. I thought he's a pretty cool character. I thought he worked out really
think-
well in the show.
I think he's very distinctly different from the comic book version
Definitely.
that they're going with.
Yeah.
I like him, but I'm a little bit puzzled by him. Which
what?
is like, well, he makes the water swords and stuff, but that seems to be being done technologically.
Yeah, he has some electrical powers as well, though.
And
But it
he's
is
got
through.
electrical powers. Like, what is going on with what? Could you give him somebody two more diametrically opposed powers?
Yeah, that's kind of. It
And
is
then
kind
he was
of weird.
chatting. It almost seemed like he was telepathically communicating with Superboy at one point as well.
Well, but
Yeah.
I think that was through the xenomorphs, though. But he may have been
Maybe.
doing that telepathically himself? I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
I
Honestly,
think they
it's just-
have a
He
connection.
just seems to be pulling stuff out of his powers out of his arse as needed.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't get the electrical powers. I mean, I would have thought it would be enough to be able to control water.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a little bit of a hint of a connection, though, between Aqualad and Superboy.
Well, yeah, those two guys are off to. They're. I mean, Aqualad's role in this is definitely very.
I smell slash material.
Oh,
I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Oh.
Anyway. Oh, come on. You thought it. So yeah, I mean, it was very good, and it was very much a techno Robin, which was kind of interesting, and they all kind of have their roles. And apparently Wally's just, I don't know. He didn't seem to be very fast when he needed to be really fast. So
is it Wally?
I don't know.
Yes,
I would
it's Wally?
assume it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
it's Wally. Yeah.
And the one thing that really threw me off. I mean, there's not much to say. I mean, basically the story is the four sidekicks, which is
Speedy's a dick.
Speedy is
Yes, he is.
Speedy is kind of a dick.
I liked
but
that he was a dick.
Yeah, it was very good. I think that's going to
Because
come
I
back.
bet when he comes back, he's Arsenal.
Well, is he gonna?
yeah.
Well, that's
Oh,
what
yeah,
I was
yeah.
thinking. If he comes back, is he gonna be like a villain or something? I mean,
think-
because he really was a dick.
Yeah, he was really pissed off. But
I mean, he's
really pissed
just
off.
the general tone of this show does not permit a Speedy with his little Robin Hood hat.
We know there's going to be a Green Arrow type of a sidekick because we know Artemis looks
Yeah.
Green
This
Arrow.
Green Arrow / Wonder Woman character that's supposed to be coming in later.
Yeah, and we know that's happening. So that's what I was thinking.
But,
Well, maybe something happens with Roy. You know, maybe he's out doing
Like,
something bad.
definitely. I mean, basically, there is no way that is not coming back. Whether it comes back to bite everybody in the ass or comes back in a good way, we'll have to wait and see. But likewise, the ice villains thing at the start, that's coming back.
Yeah, because they sort of talked about that, but then they didn't really go anywhere with it, did they?
Nope.
Yeah,
No,
that
they
just
went
kind of,
off quick
They just didn't
debrief
have
about-
time.
yeah.
This is,
But
yeah,
anyway,
definitely.
basic story, the four sidekicks show up at Hall of Justice, and they basically get told, sit down and shut up, and they get pissed off. Speedy gets really pissed off and ends up leaving. The other three decide to, after the rest of the Justice League is called off to do a bigger job, and they're told, sit down and shut up, they decide to go check out this fire at Cadmus, which leads to the entire rest of the story, which is them breaking into Cadmus, finding the secret labs in the basement, finding Connor in the basement, and then freeing all these genomorphs. It's basically just a lot of action. There isn't a lot of,
yeah,
I mean, a lot of
it's
in-depth
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
But they end up sort of saving the day, and so they basically stand up to their mentors and say, look, you trained us to do this, so we're going to do this whether you want us to or not. And they basically said, okay, so you get this mountain. And you get
Well,
red,
the original Justice League
Right.
cave is what it is.
right,
Yeah.
and you get Red Tornado, and you get Black Canary.
And so, yeah, that's kind of interesting that you're going to have. It kind of leads you to think that you're going to see a lot more of like Justice League cameos because like Batman's going to like be giving them missions, and they're not going to be like missions they're like big time missions out where newspapers are going to cover them. They're like kind of like Black Ops Justice League type stuff.
Yeah, because they're
like
seeing,
under the radar things.
Yeah, they're seeing them as the covert team.
Yeah, which is weird.
And then they just randomly
These guys
get
are
Miss Martian.
overt types.
That was
And then,
the,
by the way, here's some tits.
yeah. I mean, that was like, in one sense, it was like, I was glad by the promo stuff again that they did have the female character in it. But it was like that. It was like, here's some tits, because what do all the guys do? All the guys are like, hey, it's tits.
Hello, yeah.
And it was like, really? And she's not even like thrown off by that. And there's no even like show of
It's like,
strength.
why couldn't they hold off until the next episode to do one about her and bring her in that way?
Bring her in, introduce her, have her,
Why was her introduction so tacked on there?
I don't know. I mean, and
don't
that
know.
really kind of bothered me.
When they turned around, I figured it was Speedy coming back, done up as Arsenal or something.
Yeah, or something.
I figured that's what was going to happen.
But
no,
Well, I mean, they'd already established it, like, early on, like when Speedy got pissed off
They dropped the
who said it.
reference
They dropped the reference to her because, like, aren't you glad you didn't bring her here? And Marshall Manhunter said something like, "Yeah, I'm glad we didn't bring her by," or something. So you knew she was coming, I think, when he did that.
Yeah, I knew that she was going to show up, and obviously we knew it from the promos. But it was just
Actually, my brain was working kind of slow. I didn't figure out that's what he was talking about.
But it was very sort of cut and paste, and it was like this is the woman for the team. Here you go, which is not what I want either.
So we're not gonna get Wonder Girl, I guess, in this show because I think you need Wonder Girl if you got Connor on the show.
I thought she was in some of the promo stuff. I imagine she'll show up later, but
I don't know.
So, well, yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, so what was it? B? Are we saying B plus? I mean, wasn't.
I don't know what about a grade or anything, but I really liked it, and god darn, that animation was freaking awesome.
Yeah, the animation's very good.
I mean, I'll say it was exactly as good as I expected it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a Greg Weisman show, and I knew that we were going to be looking at a good show here. And it's really good that DC are up on the ball with their animation again, which is not to demean Brave and the Bold. Brave and the Bold's fantastic, but it's fantastic in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different kind of awesome. And Marvel have just been pumping out so many good shows over the last 3 years or so. DC's really fallen behind in the animation stakes, so it's good to see them getting their crap back together with Young Justice, because this is good. This is good, but the thing is, it didn't exceed my expectations for it.
No,
I already expected it to be really good, and it was. So somebody said to me on Twitter, and I had to laugh out loud because it's totally right. I was completely whelmed by it.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I think that I don't. I don't know how to put it other than that. That's perfect. Yeah.
Good reference.
Very funny.
I wish I could have come up with a joke myself.
I know. That's like one of those that you want to say. So, okay, cool. Anyway, so that's going to be our show. Let me do one thing real quick. Check this out. Brian got this for me because he's awesome. It's the Fanboy Versus clock. You can win this. Go to tfradio.net/contests, and we've got a contest running right there right now off of Radio Free Cybertron, so you could win that beautiful Fanboy Versus clock. And you can also get one from Cafe Press from our store. Where that is, no idea. Maybe there's a link on the site, but I don't know where that is.
ML Pony in the chat. ML Pony in the chat asks what about the Avengers 2-parter, and it's not that we don't want to talk about it; it's that we don't have time.
Yeah, we're over time for today, but it was. I mean, I'll say it was good.
It was awesome.
It was good.
It was
awesome.
So
there's nothing wrong with that, and we could probably get into that next week.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it.
It doubled my dose of Jeffrey Combs.
I think it's yes. I think it's time that we talk the Avengers series again. So we'll probably do that next week. We can catch up on it. So anyway, everybody, hey, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening, and please tune in next time when it'll be Fanboy Versus.
This has been Fanboy Versus with your hosts, J.D. Church, Chris McFeely, Chris Triplett, and Brian Kilby. Visit us at tfradio.net for show notes and to subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Twitter at tfradio for news and updates. Like the podcast? Leave us feedback on iTunes. Copyright 2010 Radio Free Cybertron.